Okay, now for our pretty colors. So this wire, you see that's labeled Cooler Master, is what I plugged in back behind my radiator for an RGB strip. This is what's basically going to get tied to all the RGB on the radiator and the fan, or the pump on the AIO going onto the CPU. So this is the wire coming from my CPU, and it's going to be really easy. They're the same kind of plugs. You just align the pins, right? Plug them in together. The first time it connects, it's not that easy. It seems like there's always a little bit of pressure inside that you have to overcome. And I've lost a couple of my wires. Where did they go? Oh, they fell out. That's why. Here's one. And here's one. So, with the other end of this plugged into my motherboard, and these all plugged in together, all three of those should be able to be addressed by my motherboard and in the BIOS. Now I'll deal with cable management later, right? But I'll probably end up pulling all these cables over and just trying to manage them over in this section, just to try to keep everything a little bit neater. As far as the rest of our RGB, it looked a little bit complicated. So if you have any other RGB things that want to plug in here, right, this is the specialized plug that they can use. But for the most part, all we have to do is plug in this to a motherboard RGB pin, and we should get RGB all the way throughout once we connect a SATA power here. I did a lot of looking into the case to see if there's anything special to try to get the RGBs to work better, but apparently they wired it so it was that easy. So once you got those wired up, I'll show you where I'm going to connect this on the motherboard, but I'm going to put that through there for right now. There is also a digital RGB for the fan, but it has a cover on it. So I think I'm going to get that RGB distributed elsewhere. I don't know. We're going to test it and see. Since it's a new case with RGB, we're just going to figure it out. We don't really have to care too much about the colors and things. It is all accessory. But, you know, we got to make it go flashy. It gives you a little bit of extra horsepower if you go flashy. So, where is it? Okay. There it is. Okay, so this is a SATA power connector, right? I need to use it to power my RGB here. Now you'll notice they're all daisy chained together, but it's not like we can cut and take some off. It just, well, it is what it is. So on your power supply, you need to find a connector that says SATA, right, and plug this one into it. And then this other end is just going to get plugged on right here. So I'm going to do that real quick. So I was struggling to try to get my RGB SATA plug plugged in because of how limited the space is. And then it hit me. My front cover pulls off. My old hard drive trays slide right out. And then I actually have full access all the way up to the power supply. So I'm going to route my cord down through here. And then easily, as long as I can see correctly, plug in my SATA plug. Look, see, now that I said it was easy, it's going to be a pain in the butt. Yeah, almost. Got it. That's important. Don't take your wire in through the front because you don't want it there. You want your wire to come out back here. And then pick any of the SATA plugs. I'm just going to pick the first one. Make sure it's oriented correctly. Plug it in together. The rest of this cable will end up tying off later. I'll go ahead and put my hard drive trays back in. I'm not going to use them, but, well, I don't want to lose them in case I want to use them later. And then pop the front of my case back on. Now, everything should be wired. Except for our motherboard R3 RGB pin, and that is actually down towards the bottom. right here. There's 2 more LEDs. This is a digital LED 1. I'm gonna make sure I'm oriented correctly. Plug it in. Now, aside from making our cables look a little bit better, we should be ready to power up. We've got our CPU, we've got the hard drive done, we've got the memory installed, we've got our radiator on so we can deal with heating and cooling. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in power, and I'm going to power it up, and I'm going to see if initial first boot works. I'm not going to hook up a monitor or anything. I'll show you guys whenever I press the power button what it should look like.